All right, I'm back. My phone rang and it killed the camera. Don't call me when I'm shooting a video. Nobody ever calls me anyway. It was probably like, hi, would you like to buy? All right. So phase one is meetups. Phase two is groups, mags, teams begin to form. And you can't force this. As I was speaking yesterday about 50 people, I said, teams are going to form, need to form. You need to realize you need to be part of a group, get to know each other. Maybe somebody's close to you, you know, geographically, only a mile or two away. Maybe somebody's close to you spiritually. Maybe somebody's close to you in your vision of the world, man. Whatever. Start touching antennas until you find people you can group with. And I said, for a group of 50 here, we could end up with 5 different little subgroups, right? That's on y'all as individuals to join and form groups. Just call them groups. I don't care if you call it a mag, a team, or whatever. And maybe I'll do some videos going on that line. Again, I've done them before, but maybe I'll do that. But you have to form groups after the meetup. What is the purpose of the meetup? To get together with like-minded people, to identify them, to find them with the purpose of starting to form group, tribe, whatever, right? And so those groups have to form. And once those groups form, all right, so this is phase 2, groups. Once those groups form, they have to identify a contact person. It does not have to be the leader. In some cases, operational security-wise, it's a good idea that it's not the leader. Unfortunately, in our society today, 10% of the people do 90% of the work in any group, and so leaders get like super overtasked, right? Everybody needs to read this book again. But a group forms. The group needs to identify a contact person, means, method. And initially, I'm thinking those contact, they need to make me aware of who that contact is. I'm the contact for this group. To that end, I get a lot of over-eager people. I'm not messing around here, people. I am not being flippant. I am not being shallow. I'm very serious about Operation Ragnar. The name is a little funny, but the fact that I would like to see established a nationwide network of like-minded people for the purposes of all of us surviving what's coming, I'm not fooling around by that. Do not write me an email and say, I'll be the contact, Pastor Joe, when there's one person, you, with visions of grandeur of being the regional director of Northeast Nebraska. If you don't already have a group, if you're not already part of a group, I don't want to hear from you. Don't clog up my email. I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but it's the reality. But if you're part of a group and they've said, okay, will you be the contact person initially with PJ, but it's going to transform into a bigger thing here. I'm going to get to that. Then go ahead and write me. Tell me you're the contact. Tell me geographically where your group is located, and I want to know how big your group is. I don't want people's home addresses. I don't want your inventory. I don't even really want your group's, mission statement and purpose. It's just we're a group. We've got this many men, this many women, this many kids. That's what I want to know. I'm going to put a pin in a map. I am. And if you think that this is an operational security thing, I shot a video yesterday that I deleted, and you think the night of the long knives is coming, then don't play. That means you don't want to be part of this organization. And that's fine. Go do your own thing. I'm trying to create a nationwide network, and for that, trust has to go both ways. Okay? So please don't clog my email for no reason. Do not send me flippant little things. I showed some people yesterday. I said I checked my email before we came on this adventure this morning, and I had about 500 emails in there. All right, so no. But phase 2, groups form, they identify a contact person, and initially that contact person lets me know that they're alive. Okay, so that's phase 2, groups. Phase 3, the groups form, join, something happens, and a regional organization forms. What's regional? Well, we're going to do it by state. I don't think that's smart. The regional organization is going to be what it is. Right now in our area, we have the Arkansas Preparedness Network. This is not I am not doing this to stamp my name on it. I'm not doing this to stamp a Viking on it. I want it done. Does that make sense? I want the network to exist. I don't care what it's called. I don't care how it works, except that I want it to work well, right? And so in this region, the Arkansas, and they have graciously extended, thank you, their borders, I think they said last night 50 miles into Missouri and 50 miles into Oklahoma, Louisiana, and I don't think they went across the Mississippi, which strikes me as wise. But the Arkansas Preparedness Network, they're already a regional organization that is functioning, right? And so I encourage groups of Vikings in that area to come up underneath the Arkansas Preparedness Network for coordination. That's all. Coordination and communication. That's all. It's not to, as I told everybody yesterday, for this regional organization to start making rules, for this regional organization to start designing uniforms, or, this is just to facilitate the different groups in an area. Instead of having, 50 different groups all just floating around, they can all plug into a regional organization, and then those regional organizations can plug into each other around the country, and that facilitates coordination and communication. Okay, and so again, just like you can't force a group, a team, a mag, you can't force a regional organization. The reason I want the groups to write to me, group contact people, and say, okay, I'm the contact person for this group. If you have a name, fine, tell me. If you don't want to tell me, that's fine too. But I need to know where you are, because once I see pins, groups in an area, I'm going to start talking to those group contacts and say, hey, you've got, 6 other groups within 200 miles of you. Why don't you have a group meet, New England, mountain states, whatever. And so we form these regional organizations. And again, guys, this is not some power trip that I'm on. I'm trying to do it for all of us. Right? And again, I don't care what it's called. If there's already a functioning, keyword, functioning, regional organization, why not plug into it and make use of it, right? And again, I've got all these tangents I'm going, but phase 3 is the regional organizations. Now, who's going to join these regional organizations? The groups, right? And even... picture this. Let's say there's a regional organization called the Midwest Preppers Group. I just made that up, I think. Everybody in your little mag doesn't have to join the Midwest Preppers Group. Have your contact person join it, right? Join it so they can see what's going on, and they can brief everybody in your little group. All right, here's what's going on. There's going to be a regional event, at this big state lake. Let's all go. Go as a group. Right? Show up as a group in your convoy, pack your stuff, set up your little campsite within the thing. It's a great recruiting tool too. I don't care what they're called, just make use of them. But if it's not functional, don't join it. If they're doing illegal things, don't join it, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so the regional group. So groups plug into the regional group, so do individuals who have not yet found a group. You're living, we'll just keep going with my made up, what did I call it? The Midwest Prepper Group or something. You're an individual who lives in that area and you haven't found a group yet. Okay, join the regional group. But you need to look for a group to join or people to form a group, because the whole key to this thing is being a member of a tribe, a tight-knit local group, right? You saying you're a part of a group that has people spread out, this far, and it's just you, that's not going to help you when it's time to ford the stream at your homestead, right? But if you haven't found your local group, plug in as an individual to the regional group and start working on finding, joining, creating a group. Okay, so regional organizations. And if there's one that works, like in the Ozarks area, the APN is working pretty good. They schedule events. They're headed up by a group of good guys who, to the best of my understanding, and I've met with them a few times now, all have excellent intentions of just getting people together to facilitate training and preparation, and there's no ego or power trips there. As a matter of fact, they have servant hearts, giving hearts. And so in our area, in this Ozark area, we're blessed to have an organization already existing. And so if you're in the Ozarks, look into APN, Arkansas Preparedness Network. They're on Facebook, I'm not, and I think they're getting ready to have a website, which we'll talk about in the future when it comes up. So phase 1, leaders step up and organize meetups. Phase 2, groups form. Phase 3, regional organization. And if you're not in a group, get into that. Phase 4. Oh, and when these regional organizations form, I need to know who they are too, right? You know, at least I need a contact for one. Phase 4 is starting to connect the networks. Now, and TJ kind of hammered this nail home when he spoke also. This is what we're going for. We're not going for a hierarchy. Let's say my group, the Shofarians, want to go to Maine for a moose hunt. I'm just making this up as I go, can you tell? And so we would like to connect with groups along our way. In case something happens, you know, we can kind of plug into a group for assistance, you know, like we get blown up in, you know, tires flat or something in, what's between here and Maine, Ohio. Be nice to kind of know where there's some like-minded people in Ohio that we could plug into. Or when we get to Maine, since we're going to be there for 2 weeks hunting moose, we'd like to know the local group, maybe get together and have a barbecue, right? Let's just say something like that's going on. One need not, in my vision of this, go, all right, so Shofar Mountain would then have to go to the regional head, APN, and then APN, kind of like with the motorcycle clubs, right? APN would have to coordinate with all the other regional groups all the way across the country to Maine, and then it would go down, and then it would come back, and then it would come all the way to us. You're cleared hot. You're going to talk to these people, and these people. That's not what I want. I want this network to evolve to the point that individual groups can just coordinate and talk to each other individually. They're coming to take me away. Huh? It just looked funny to me on the screen. But individual groups can communicate directly. Where it helps, where it facilitates mass communication, fast communication, we can use the regional hierarchical structure, if you will. You know, this group to their regional heads over, but it need not be so. You know, this group could talk to a group in Tampa, Florida. You know, little mag to another mag. That's fine. And the regional headquarters don't have to know, right? It's not like a control thing. It's to facilitate thing. And really, this book, man, this is so important to understand this, this concept. Americans in general, and certainly military, police, fire people, we think in hierarchies, you know, pyramids, top, second level, third level, fourth level, communication goes this way. And if this guy wants to talk to this guy, he has to go all the way up and then all the way back down. Oh no, I want him to go whoop, right across. Because that will help us all. Is there potential for abuse? There is. Hive mind, hive networking, that kind of thing. But we will quickly determine, and that's where the regional, can I just use the term directors, heads, presidents, I don't care what you call it, chieftains, they can have an effect there. I mean, we can say this group is not a group and they're a bunch of crap because they've burned 4 different groups that have reported to us, hey, we tried to work with this group in Tampa and they did this. And then somebody else tells another guy, somebody else tells another guy, and pretty soon the word gets out, hive mind. Tampa isn't even a group, man. If you're in Tampa, I'm not really talking about you, right? I'm just making it up. So regional organizations, then we connect the contacts through the whole thing. Now, when I say connect the contacts, this is kind of important. I don't mean connect every single individual in the whole thing to every single individual. We're not going to post, in my vision of this, ever, a listing on the internet of who all the contacts are. It's not going to happen because that opens it up way too much for abuse, right? You will never see a list. If you want to plug into the Tampa group, here's the contact information, and put it up for everybody in the world to see. Not going to happen. You're going to have to think nationally, act locally. I think that was a left-wing kind of thing to say. And so the facilitation of the groups hooking up, of the groups to the networks hooking up, will kind of come through a central hub and then get spurt back out. And so once you're in a group in good standing, you'll be given all the information directly of who you need to contact. And maybe on a need-to-know basis. You know, if you're, again, let's just say you're a Midwest prepper little group in the bigger organization, and let's say you're in Wichita, Kansas. We're not necessarily going to tell you who the group leader of Tampa is unless you tell us, hey, we're going to Tampa, or we're going to Key West, we're going to go by Tampa, and then we'll hook you up. Does that make sense? Need to know, man. But, you know, if you're like one of your people's like, hey, Sally from our group is going out to Idaho, Boise. Okay, here's people, you know, that you can plug into. We're going to try that. Depends on you, though, and it all starts at the beginning of people getting out as individuals, touching antennas, and meeting each other. And then you, as individuals, have to decide, let's start doing stuff together. Let's start doing stuff together as a group. Let's make a group. Once that happens, the rest can flow. We are not going to build this thing from the top down. We're going to build it from the bottom up. Does that make sense? We are not going to establish what I just said, the Midwest prepper group, when there's no groups, no little groups to fill it, right? I want to see the groups forming, and then we'll draw circles and say, there you go. And the circles can be nebulous. You know, again, this isn't a loyalty hierarchy thing. If your group, let's say, is in our area, and so you've got your little mag, and they're plugged into, see that, I think that's a more way of looking at it, being plugged into instead of as a member of. They're plugged into Arkansas Preparedness Network. There's nothing preventing them from also plugging into the Midwest Preparedness Network. Does that make sense? Flexibility. We don't want spiders where the head gets cut off and the whole thing dies. It's got to be interconnected. The interwebs. And so after we connect all the contacts, then we have a national network that started. And I've got plans where we're going after that if we ever get there. But there's no need to go over those plans until we take care of these plans. So there you go. That's what I talked about. That's where I'd like to see us going. It clearly will not be the sole focus of my discussions here on Patreon, but I will be talking about this kind of thing later. I read all your comments. I don't respond to them all. I read all your emails. I don't respond to them all. I can't anymore. We got too big. But if you have a question, if you have an area you would like to see addressed, put it in the comments. I'm not saying I'm going to address it if you put it in the comment, but I'll see it and I'll think about it. And usually if I see like 3 or 4 people saying the same thing, I talk about it for us. So there's that. Why? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I got a lot to do just here. Because I care. And because I know the value of being a member of a good group. I know the value of being the member of a good network, and I care about y'all. And I want you to be ready for what's coming, because it's coming. Everybody knows it's coming. Okay, excuse me, everybody doesn't know it's coming. A lot of us do. We feel it in our bones. We feel it in our soul, in our spirit. It's coming. And you cannot do this alone. And your group might be able to do it alone, but they could be so much better if they're at least linked up with other similar, not exactly the same, similar groups tribal alliances. Let's do something good. All right. I may see you out there.